All right, welcome to everybody on our webinar focusing on holiday recovery. And let's bring up the PowerPoint here so that we can keep me on track. Let's see now, there it is. All right, right to the very beginning. Here we go. Super. All right, as I said, welcome to you, and I'm so grateful for the people that are joining us live. And I know that even those of you that are watching this as a recording, you are part of a group of people that want to learn, and you tend to be action takers. And so I really want you to, get out your pens and paper or your however you take notes so that when you come up with an action step for yourself, that you can make a note of it so that you actually engage and do that action. So it really is the most powerful way to get your health back naturally after the holidays. That's what we're going to be covering, but it only works if you apply it. And so we are all about taking action in our tribe here. And so the truth of the matter is that this is the most stressful time of the year that we have come through. And this is not only the most powerful way to come through the holidays naturally and get your health back naturally, but even reduce your risk and chances of cancer, heart disease, and early death, unlike 5 out of 6 Americans that are not doing what they need to be doing right now. So thank you for being here. And also think about who else you know that could benefit from this information. And you can share the recording with them if they're not able to join us right now. So, again, the way to get the most out of this, whether it is listening live the way you are, or if you're on the recording, remember, if you're doing other things at the same time, you just don't get as much out of it. So if you really can stay engaged, it's where you're going to get the most. So I will encourage you to stay engaged and focused so that you get your best results. And that's true of any activity that we decide to put our time and energy into. Staying engaged is key. So, this is a big topic for me. It really came to the forefront when I was with some colleagues after Christmas, and one of them shared this incredible story of being on a plane. And while they were on the plane, this middle-aged guy was traveling with his 11-year-old daughter, and the guy had a heart attack on the plane and died on the plane. Now, can you imagine being that 11-year-old getting on the plane with your dad and getting off without him? Like, I don't want that to happen to anybody that I know. And when they described the situation, the fellow was described as a deconditioned middle-aged man, which basically meant, he was out of shape. And you can imagine he's probably thinking to himself, yeah, I'm a little out of shape, all right, the holidays are stressful, but I can manage this. I have time. I'll get to it. I'll get in shape one of these days. Like that's just the common conversation that is happening. But that story just brought it home to me that we don't have time to just keep pushing it off and letting things accumulate, that we really need to start addressing it right away. And it's not that difficult. We just have to be focused in what we're doing and know which things to do and when and how to do them. But once you know that, you can totally turn things around. So again, thank you for being here. This is the typical holiday red zone that we're coming out of. And I'm going to show you this, just how this is actually even graphed out. But basically, the idea here is allostatic load. Allostatic load is kind of like the rain barrel that is filling up with drips and trickles of water. And at a certain point, it maxes out. And then one more drop, and now it's just spilling over. And anything more that comes in, it's just, there's no way to contain it. There's no more capacity left. It's just overloaded. That's what we call allostatic load. And the allostatic load in modern life, we've designed and engineered our lives and our lifestyle to be so unnaturally stressful that it's not the way we were designed to be living genetically speaking. Like if we think 40,000 years ago, what were we genetically designed for? And the amount of difference there is between modern world and the way we were designed is huge, and it's taking its toll. And so it just is spilling out, and people are going over the brink. And it's a massive problem all around the world. Like, just check this out. This is actually looking at the data. And when they look at this data, they're actually looking at the idea of this as a calendar year, but a calendar year, whoops, let's go back. A calendar year that starts, I'm just trying to get this out of the way. There we go. It starts in the middle of the summer and it ends in the middle of the summer. And so the very center of this graph is this time of the year, Christmas and New Year's. And what you see is when they graph out the number of people that die each day from cardiac deaths, and they're graphing it out from 1973 to 2001. And every year it just follows the same graph where it peaks at the holiday time. Why is this happening? It's because it's the most stressful time of the year. And there's this spike that happens year after year after year. And even though this graph is only through 2001, anytime they've ever looked at it, it's the same thing. It just keeps happening. In fact, even in COVID, the same spike was happening. So this is because it is the most stressful time of the year. But the fact that we see it over and over again, year after year, that's what's the most disturbing to me. When is enough enough? What do we need to do to just make a change? Like, we need a better way than what we're doing right now. And so I hope that this is as unacceptable to you as it is to me. And I have people coming in and their stress is that they're seeing so many loved ones that are either passing or that are struggling with some of these stress related conditions. So I know sometimes your eyes can glaze over when you see graphs and data, but where is this data coming from? Like, this is for the United States, but what about just Vermont? Same graph. How about Shelburne? Same graph. And so these numbers are coming from people that you know and love, friends, family members, coworkers, neighbors that are struggling. And so I hope that you can share this with them as well. So why do you think we have this crisis? Like, how could this be? And I would say that there are three reasons. One is that people have the wrong definition of health. So one of my colleagues, Dr. James Chestnut, he says this, and I love this. Most people think they're sick because of bad germs or bad genes or bad luck. But actually, it's from bad behavior. It's the choices that we're making all day long that are cumulative, that are leading to this. And so when we look at the holidays, that's when we max it out at the very worst, at the highest level. So just by using the wrong definition of health, we just add a toxic burden of stress and we start to call it the holiday hangover and we normalize it. And there are so many people that are sick right now, not even just with the serious cardiovascular issues, but even just their immune system. People that are tanking around me here that I'm seeing. And why is that? Is it that it's the flu season, or is it the stress and sugar season that we've just come through? So we really have to look at that and really looking at what's the best way to measure how healthy you are. A lot of people have a wrong definition they're using there too, because they're saying, oh, it's how I feel. So think of the guy on the plane. He's feeling okay. And I don't know if you know this, but 51% of the people that have cardiac trouble, the first symptom, meaning something you feel, the first symptom of heart disease for 51% of the people is a fatal heart attack. They don't even get another chance. It's the first symptom. And so surely there's something going wrong before then, but the first symptom. So what is the best barometer of how healthy you are? Is it how you feel? Is that the best way to be measuring your health? I would say no. I mean, what does cancer feel like early stage? What does it feel like? What does heart disease or diabetes feel like early stage? What does a cavity feel like? By the time you're feeling any of these, you're in big trouble. And it's the most common, it's so common that we forget about that and that we just keep bumbling along saying, I feel okay right now. So we need a better definition, a better way of thinking about our health. And that way it can help people so that loved ones can avoid struggling with these diseases. So what I learned early on in my practice was the sooner that I could get to folks and create a pivot point to get them on the road to the optimum health that they want, the sooner I could create that pivot point, the better it was going to be. So, I've met lots of people that come to me many different ways. So if there's people that you could be the pivot point for them to put them on a whole new trajectory for their health. So no one else may tell them, and you may be the one. So please share this information with them. All right, so when we look at what we call the holiday hangover, what exactly are we talking about here? It's going to be things like exhaustion, colds and flu. We just talked about that. Headaches, digestion issues, weight gain, irritability, pain, anxiety, depression. And so these are the most common ways that the holiday hangover shows up in my practice. This is what I'm seeing. But we refer to all of these symptoms as body signals. Body signals, and rather than symptoms, because your body is smart, and when it's moving away from health, it's trying to get your attention and tell you. And so the symptoms are the way for it to do that. And so it's asking you to make a change. Now, if you look at all these things, exhaustion, headaches, digestion, irritability, pain, depression, we've got a pill for that. Oh, we've got a pill for that. And then you don't have to change anything about your lifestyle because we've got a pill for that. So just think about if you are concerned and struggling with these things, or people that are, perhaps they are looking for a different way to address it. And so that's what I want to be covering tonight. It means that your body's asking you to make a change rather than just take a pill and keep doing it. And the changes asking you to make usually is going to fall into the categories of the habits that you have. It's not the one-off exposure. It's the things that we're doing all day long, every day. And at holiday time, those holiday habits can really undermine our health goals. So it's habits around diet, around sleep patterns. It's habits around the body whispering to us until it starts to scream at us that we have to make a change. So that's what I want to cover tonight is the consequences of the downstream symptoms of the habits that are upstream that set us up for this. And so in the meantime, all these symptoms show up, and what are people told to do? Just keep pushing, just keep going, ignore the symptoms, suck it up. And then what else do we hear? Oh, this is just the new normal now. Just kind of got to get used to this now. And so I say, as my colleague wrote a book during this time, screw normal instead of the new normal. So we need a better definition of health. Who's with me here? And let's just get a better understanding of this idea of body signals. So when we think about body signals, I want you to think about it this way as the body signal is the tip of the iceberg. It's the part that you may be feeling and aware of right now, but it's representing a whole lot more underneath that you may not be feeling. Symptoms are just the tip of the iceberg. But again, it's the way that your body is trying to signal us. And so the symptoms are there to tell us something. And so every month we have a different topic, and we call it the Body Signal Series. And so this month it's all about recovering from the holiday. Next month, it's going to be about bulletproofing your immune system, because that is the time of the year we're coming around to. So I hope you can join us next month for that. We also are having, just a little bit of housekeeping, we're having a Chocoholics night right here at the office where you'll be able to join us and bring your friends and family. And we're going to be taste testing healthy chocolates. That's right, healthy chocolates. So there are ways to get through these holiday seasons with good habits and still enjoy and celebrate them. So I hope you can join us for that. Watch your emails for that. And if you are not getting our emails, simply send us a text at our number 802-985-9444. 9850 and let us know you want to get on our email list, or you can jump on our website and there's an easy link there to get on our email list so you're notified of all the fun things that we do. All right. So let's talk about symptoms and their purpose. And oh, there's our website right there, wellspringcls.com. Okay, so let's talk about symptoms and where do they fit in this idea? It's a wellness paradigm that we're looking at here. So you can see on the left-hand side, we have early death. On the right-hand side, we have robust wellness and health. And in the middle is what we call the neutral point, where you don't necessarily feel anything like a symptom, but you're not necessarily at that robust, healthy level either. And so we call this neutral point. It's not the sick zone to the left, and it's not necessarily the healthy zone to the right. We call it the not sick zone. The not sick zone, which basically means you don't feel any symptoms, and there's an awful lot of people that are calling the not sick zone the healthy zone, but it's not. It might be the not healthy zone also, not that robust level of health. So the not sick zone is where there's no symptoms. And then as you lose function and you're moving towards the left, the first thing is there will be signs that can be measured that are telling you, indicators that you're moving away from health. If you don't know those signs and don't pay attention to them, then you start to have the symptoms. And the symptoms are when your body is saying, enough is enough. We need to make a change here. And so the symptoms are what tell you you're really moving away from health. So the signs will tell you that, but if you're not looking, you won't know. But the symptoms are something you feel, and that's how you know. And so what we do with that information makes all the difference, because if we just mask it or tolerate it or just try to live around it, as it's getting worse, Dr. Marcia Angel was the MD who was the editor of the New England Journal of Medicine for about 20 years. Imagine the research that went across her desk. And she said, you can never medicate your way out of a situation you've behaved your way into. You'll just feel better as you're getting worse. Some truth in that. And so she basically was saying, if you have symptoms and you're just masking them, you might feel better, but you're moving towards further and further lower function. And when you get to low function where the symptoms can no longer be corrected, we call that disability. And that's a sign of very low level of function. If we look at the other side of the scale, we have to have awareness that when we have the signs, awareness of what do we need to do about this in order to gain health and not just tolerate it as you're getting worse. So the awareness is key. Once we have the awareness, we have to really dive into it and educate ourselves, just like we're doing with this webinar. That's going to help to move the dial, move you in the direction you want to go in, which is growth. And growth sometimes is inconvenient and uncomfortable. I get it. The easy way out sometimes is the way that is just tanking us. And so sometimes it's doing the hard things for a little while so that it gets easy as you gain more and more robustness and more adaptability. Okay, so now that you understand that, our belief systems around things are also important. So let's take a look at the important premise that we want to set and establish that's going to, if you understand the premises, it's going to, even that understanding is going to start to move you towards wellness. And so here's the premise that we want to take a look at. There's 5 aspects to it. The first one is that healthy is normal. Unhealthy is abnormal. Healthy is normal. Now, a lot of people are just being told by the media and our culture, it's normal to be sick. Everybody's sick. It's not. Healthy is normal. Unhealthy is abnormal. That is our basic premise. And the way that we say that is because the body was designed to be healthy. By its design, every cell is designed to always move towards health. So if you're not experiencing health, it just means that something's getting in the way. And there's only one thing that can get in the way of health, and that is an interference. Something is interfering with that design of being healthy. And there's only 2 things that can interfere: toxicities, deficiencies, or both? And so we're going to unpack that today on what are the things that are interfering with that full expression of health that we all were born with. Now, the second premise is that your body is smart, that what it's doing is designed to be healthy, even if it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. So, what that means is when symptoms show up, yeah, they're inconvenient and uncomfortable, but they're talking, it's our body talking to us. And it's what we do about what it's saying, which is going to determine what our outcomes are going to be. Now, if we understood that the nervous system is the master system in the body, the brain controls everything in the body. It does that by sending the messages down through the spinal cord, out through the nerves to go to every cell and back again without interference. Then you get to be healthy. But if there's some disturbance in the flow of messages, that's when we start to see breakdown. And so understanding that the spine is the suit of armor that is protecting your nervous system. And so that spine, we also think of it as like a circuit breaker. And we remember we talked about allostatic load. So what happens to a circuit breaker if suddenly the circuit blows, the fuse blows? That's from overload. So allostatic load, when it's overload, it trips the circuit, it blows the fuse. And so the spine is the suit of armor that's protecting your nervous system, but it's also that circuit breaker that if you are on overload, that's where the circuit blows, is in the spine. And modern life is unnaturally stressful. Who here would agree that stress can make you sick? We just saw it in our graph there. So we know that that's true. But now let's take a closer look at what are the sources of these stresses that we're exposed to. Well, it comes at us in three dimensions: thoughts, toxins, and traumas. And so this is the three T's. Basically, it is the way you think, your mental emotional state, it's the chemical stresses that you're exposed to, and it's the physical traumas, physical stresses that we're exposed to. And so there can be all different types of these thoughts, toxins, and traumas. There can be the big events that are, completely overloading. Things like loss of a job or loss of a loved one. This time of the year, it's happening. Or it could be anything that is a loss for us that could be very stressful as an event. And then in between those events, we have chaos, disorganization, deadlines. We have the lower level mental and emotional stresses. So we have to recognize that as well. So let's unpack these a bit here and recognize that there are many stresses, and during the holidays, there's even bigger ones. But the question is, and Santa knows because Santa's got the list there of if you've been naughty or nice, like who is it that is stressing us out or causing stress? Who is it that is putting those toxic holiday foods into our bodies? Who is it that is slipping and falling in winter snow or just being a couch potato because it's just too cold outside? So sedentary stress is a physical stress as well. So with each of these categories, we have the big events that occur, and then we have the low-level versions, the micro traumas or micro stresses. And Santa is watching and calculating. And by the way, he tells me he does not care about HIPAA compliance. I know who you are. You come through the holidays, and I can see it in your nervous system, actually. All right. So the sources of stress. First, our thoughts. And so again, it's just our thought life, right? It's not just a one-off thought. It's how things are running through our mind throughout the day, our mental and emotional stresses. And so when we're getting stretched beyond our resources, we experience stress. And at holiday time, it is just, there's so much that's competing for our taxed limited resources and just gets amped up. The holidays are a big demand on us. So let's look closely at what do I mean by these resources that we have. The economy of your four limited resources. Humans are economists. We are hardwired to protect and marshal our four limited resources, and they are time, energy, which we could think of as food. In Paleolithic man, genetically speaking, We had to race against time even back then. The sun was going up and coming down. We better get food before the sun goes down. So energy was our source of food. So we had to expend energy in order to get energy, and then focus. And we use money today as one of the exchanges of energy and exchanges of value. And so it has become what we think of as one of our four limited resources. Now, we have a part of our brain that is called the reticular activating system, and its job is to always be on the alert for when anything may threaten us. So, when we experience stress with our four limited resources, when they're threatened, our reticular activating system is engaged, it is watching. And so, historically, again, food was at a premium, was hard to find, it's hard to secure, hard to get food. So we were programmed to stress out about it. To find food and secure energy, we had to stress out about it. If we didn't stress out about it, we wouldn't do it. Then we'd starve. So it was genetically programmed in that we should be stressed about making sure we're getting energy. And of course, everything's changed. The pace of our lives is unnatural. The demands are extraordinary. And so it's one of the things that we have to now use the smart part of our brains to address. And the compounding effect is that all of this creates a stress physiology. Stress hormones directly and indirectly will impact our health and our well-being. So let's unpack this a little bit. When we encounter think of Paleolithic man, and we've encountered a tiger, immediately, what do we want to have happen? We want to be able to fight or run as fast as possible. And so our blood pressure is going to go up, our heart rate is going to go up, our muscle tone is going to go up, getting ready to fight. Our digestion is going to be upset because it's not a good time to digest food right now. So our digestion is going to be down regulated. And then we're going to have a decrease in serotonin, which is that calming kind of hormone that we create in our guts that our brain uses. Our sensory system is going to go up because we're going to be more on alert, and fear and anxiety, again, will be up. And then we'll have our immune response to this, which is actually to down-regulate the immune system, because the immune system is so expensive to run that we have to put it on hold when we want all of our resources going towards fight or flight. Our insulin sensitivity actually will change because we actually want to have higher blood sugar. So we don't want insulin taking the sugar out of the blood. We want the blood sugar to go up because we've got to fuel our muscles in order to run or fight. We also will have a flip of our lipids. So we're going to have a decrease in the HDLs, the good lipids, and we're going to have an increase in the LDLs, the bad lipids. And so the reason for that is that our stress hormones require a lot of those LDLs in order to make them. And so we're going to increase them because we are using a lot of stress hormones. We also have that change because our body needs to be able to repair any wound that occurs, and it actually uses those lipids to do that repair. Cholesterol is required in order to repair wounds. And so our clotting factors will go up for the very same reason, to be ready for an injury that needs a good clotting response. And of course, our sex drive is going to go down, because if a tiger is chasing you, that is not a good environment to procreate and bring a child into the world. You want to be safe when you have to do that. So that down regulates. So all of this is what happens with a stress response. It's an adaptive physiology. It will save our lives in the short term, but it can shorten our lives in the long run, because we were never meant to stay in this stress response over a prolonged period of time. And so what happens is, if we are locked into this physiology and we're not coming out of it, if the stresses, the fight or flight mode just stays strong, then it's setting individuals up for diabetes, heart disease, and heart attacks, because this pretty much looks like metabolic syndrome. This looks like a heart attack waiting to happen. I'm thinking of the guy on the plane. It takes a little bit of extra effort to get through security and then get your luggage on and find your seat and sit in that little seat. And maybe there's a lot of stress before that, but it was just enough extra to be in a stress response. And that's all that it took for that fellow, because he was already at a high allostatic load. So that's what's happening is during this holiday red zone, all the stresses are building up to a crescendo, and all these physiological changes must follow suit because it's their genetic programming to do so. And so our thought life and our mental state is incredibly significant to our health because modern life is so unnaturally stressful. And again, we all agree unwanted stress can make us sick. And so, what do we need to do to bulletproof ourselves against these stressors that we undoubtedly, if we're not already facing, will be facing in the future? What do we need to do? Because if we keep doing what we've been doing, we're going to keep getting what we've been getting. You know how it goes. If you're not satisfied with the results of your health that you've been getting, then you're going to have to do things differently from the way you've been doing them. So, who is ready for a different approach and a better way? And let's take a look at what are the things that we're going to need to stop doing, things you're going to need to slow down from doing, and other things that you're going to start doing. Now, we all have different levels of experience when it comes to health and lifestyle choices that are on this call, and those of you watching the recording. So you might be kind of just at that freshman level, and then you might be a grad student. So you've been studying this for a while, so and everything in between. So don't let yourself just go on overload about all the changes that you need to make. If you're a freshman, just getting started, taking more responsibility for your health, and then just start with the basics. And so I recommend just starting with adding things in. Leave the calculus and the trig for more advanced students. Just stick with addition in the beginning. Just start by adding more health in each of these categories. And so here we go. So thinking for recovery. So here are some strategies. You want to choose your attitude. And, may I say again, it's not just the personal individual stresses that we might have from the holidays, coming through, family dynamics or financial concerns or just not getting enough sleep or whatever those things are that were stressful for you, you can always choose your attitude. And you know what? This applies for political stress and watching the news stress, like all of those things that just feel like we're in such a turbulent world. You can always choose your attitude. And so, you can have at the same time that you can be thinking about how scary it is, or how stressful, or how worried, or how angry you are. At the same time, oh, the sun was out today and it's a beautiful glistening on the snow, and you have loved ones around you. Those are happening at the same time. And so we get to choose our attitude. That's the one thing we have as humans. We actually get to choose our attitude, and it changes our physiology. So we have this prefrontal cortex right in the front of our brain that only humans have, but it's the part of our brain that can look at the past, can consider the future, and can see the connections in between, and can actually see the path to get to the future that you want. You also could be worrying about the future and without realizing it, setting the path towards that worry. And so our attitude makes a big difference. Choosing your attitude. It is a skill set, and it can start with just taking deep cleansing breaths. Just take what we call box breathing. So, regulate your breath. Take a beat of 4 breathing in, hold it for 4, and then breathe it out for 4, and then hold it for 4. Just doing this square box breathing is something that can just help to regulate and help you to just get into a different mindset. And then, so once you've done a few breaths, you can just start to choose gratitude. Just choose gratitude. Think of the important people or things in your life. Think of what happened that they showed up, and what if that didn't happen, they wouldn't have shown up. So how would your life be different without them? And sometimes it is rough times that bring amazing people to us that we can be so grateful for. So looking at the very situation to see what can I be grateful about here? Or if you just can't see it in that situation, think about no matter what, I'm always grateful for this thing over here that has nothing to do with what's in front of me that I'm stressed about. You can always just deflect to, well, what am I grateful for? Connection, acceptance, respect. People are hardwired to require these things. It is genetically programmed into us because if we don't have connection with other members of the tribe, in Paleolithic man times, that would have been suicide to not be part of the tribe, to be out on your own. And so we had to feel acceptance from the other members of the tribe. And part of that is accepting those around us as well and being respected and offering respect. And so we're hardwired for that. It actually conferred a survival advantage to be part of the tribe. So make sure that you have healthy relationships around you, and you can be the one that plants the seeds of making them healthier than they are right now by your attitude and what you're focused on with connection, acceptance, and respect. Now, also look at energy exchange. So be mindful of the energy exchanges in your relationships. Some friends, they actually just need to be fired and loved from afar. That you can exchange energy from a distance rather than having them right in your energy field draining you. Unconditional love is something that it's when we think of it, it's choosing to tolerate and love despite the behavior, but it's not unconditional approval. So it's not saying you can do whatever you want and I still will love what you're doing. No, that's not what it is. It's loving the individual, letting them make mistakes, and knowing I still love you, even if you're making some bad choices right now. So it's not unconditional approval. And then grace. God's economy of grace. Forgive and love even when folks do not deserve it. We will need this too at some time. And so giving people grace. And there's actually a Hawaiian word that I really like. And remember that grace, again, it's not unconditional approval of behavior, it's unconditional love despite behavior. So this other word that you see here, ho'oponopono, it's a Hawaiian word, and I think it's it's a way of, it's a type of prayer, I would say. And the meaning of ho'oponopono is, it's actually four statements. The first part of it is, I am so sorry for anything that I or any of my ancestors have done to create a world where you have to play this role. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. That's what Ho'oponopono means. And you can look it up. There's a great story about a psychiatric ward of the criminally insane, those that it was a criminal ward, and there was a psychologist in training, a resident, and they all had to take rotations at this criminally psychiatric ward. And this one guy, everybody burnt out. It was so stressful for them. This one guy, he just took each of their files and he read their history and he just saw how terrible it was. And then he just said, Ho'oponopono, closed the file, went to the next one. And he just kept doing that the whole time he was on his shift. He never interacted with the prisoners, the criminals. He only read their files and said that prayer. And while he was there, all the violence, all the turbulence, all the chaos on the ward quieted right down. So it's a pretty cool story, but that's something that I go to when I feel like I'm just stuck in judging something, or I just don't see how there's anything I can do to help it. It's like a big thing, or it's world based, or it's political, or whatever's going on. I just say to myself, Ho'oponopono, so sorry that whatever you're doing, even if it's pushing my button, sorry that we are in a world where you have to play that role. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So it's a very useful phrase I have found myself. Try it out. Another thing is EFT, emotional freedom technique, learning how to tap on the endpoints of acupuncture meridians in order to turn the stress switch off, quiet that amygdala right down, that reticular activating system. And so EFT tapping is another tool. Loving What is a book called that was written by Byron Katie. And she has a procedure that she uses. It's called The Work. And this book, Loving What Is, what I love about this book is in the first 20 pages, you get everything you need. And I love books like that. And so basically, she just teaches you what she learned herself. She was actually in a psychiatric ward, expected to stay there for her entire life. And she figured out if she asked herself these four questions that it brought her to calm, sanity, and clarity. And the one of the questions was something like, is what I'm thinking true? Is it absolutely true, 100% true? And then if it wasn't, that's interesting that it may not be 100% true. And then the key phrase was, where would I be? How would I be if I didn't have that thought? So simple. So I don't want to take away from her beautiful, beautiful description of that work that she does. So go check out that book. And again, first 20 pages, you got it. The rest is just stories of how she used it, which are very enlightening stories, very heartwarming. And then if you are thinking that meditation might be something that would be useful for you, more mindfulness, there is an app called Headspace. I'm sure there's more than that at this point, but that was one that I ran into a while ago. And it's great because it just introduces people to meditation. It has free 10-minute meditations that you can just listen to and start to get the hang of it. And there's different varieties that you can try out to see what you like best. So another tool called Headspace. All right, so that's thinking for recovery, but another part of thinking actually is the category of sleep, that we really do need to sleep for recovery. We have to be proactive about this. And so one of the aspects is protecting your rhythm, the circadian rhythm, 8 quality hours of sleep. The best time to sleep is between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Now, recently I was able to just spend some time in Mexico in the jungle in this remote area, and the stars were incredible, so bright, and a black sky, and so there was very little light pollution, so it was extraordinary. And so we were able to sleep outside through the night, and it really helped me to reset my circadian rhythm dramatically, so that when the sun started to go down, I was already starting to feel more tired, and then when the sun was coming up, I was feeling refreshed. And so that circadian rhythm, it's a key piece. And so you want to really protect that rhythm, pardon me, this time of the year. So it's best to try and get into the bed by 10 o'clock at the latest, so that from 11 to 2, you're deeply asleep. That's the most important deep sleep times. Early to bed, early to rise. It is actually a best practice to have the same time 7 days a week. So not early in the workday and then sleep late on the weekends. I'm sorry to say that is not the best practice. Some people think that they can just not, be just terrible with their sleep during the week because they're going to catch up on the weekends. But it turns out it doesn't actually work that way. It's more like breathing. Like it's not like you can breathe a little bit for, today and tomorrow you're going to breathe a lot. It's not like sleep is the same. So that's important that we understand that we have to respect it that way. And the best practice is the same time of the day, waking and sleeping 7 days a week. Now, having an e-fast is important too. So that's turning off the monitors, turning off the screens before you go to bed. And for many people, 60 minutes before sleep is the ideal amount. So start planning your day so that you're not stuck on the screens until just before sleep, because it will disturb your rhythm and the quality of your sleep. And by the way, taking naps actually is just fine. In fact, our ancestors, they guess that they probably did that every day. So healthy, happy, successful people, they all do it. It's almost like a new status symbol these days of taking a nap in the middle of the day, but truly a 20-minute power nap can make a huge difference. And not so much going into 2 hours, that can start to disturb your sleep later on at night. But the 20-minute power naps actually are very useful. And then remember that we don't want to overcommit. And so no is a love word. Every time, every part of the year, especially this time of the year, learn to just say no when that's what's best for you. And then checking your expectations of yourself and of others, and having clear expectations and agreements. So no superhero syndrome happening here. Really watch that. And as you say no to things, say yes to the things that are important, that you can have clear expectations and agreements with them. All right, now let's look at toxins or the chemical stresses. And again, coming off the holiday red zone and recovery after the holiday hangover, you know what your experience has been. And so here, let's take a look at what we need to do to eat for recovery. Never go hungry is the key thing when you're going out someplace, either to visit friends for a meal or to go out to dinner. Never go hungry because it's going to be really hard to make healthy choices. And so the battle is won at the register. So never go hungry to the grocery store, and including going to places where you think you're going to be tempted by unhealthy food. The battle is won at the register. Don't let it in the house. If it's in the house, nobody's going to win that battle. Your willpower will not succeed. And especially if you're a frugal person that you don't like to waste things, oh, I'll just finish this up and then I will get better at whatever that is. It doesn't work that way. You actually have to make sure that if it comes into the house, it has to leave the house with the guests that brought it in, or again, at the grocery store, the battle's won at the register. Now, another piece here is don't drink your calories. So sometimes when we have, other than water, we might forget that that's something we're putting into our body, and that can be loaded with all kinds of stuff, including sugar and even the high fructose corn syrup and things like that. So watch out about drinking a lot of calories this time of the year, whether it's alcohol or those fancy cocktails they have now, or the smoothies that are supposed to be healthy for you, except they can become sugar bombs if you just use pure fruit and you don't actually put any other healthy fats or proteins in there. So watch out for drinking your calories. And then avoiding the white stuff. What do I mean by that? The white flour, the white sugar. I mean, even broccoli is actually healthier than cauliflower if you were making a comparison. So the white stuff is just does not have the same nutritional value. And so look for the colorful foods of salads and so on, vegetables and fruits. And we're going to look at what a healthy plate would look like as well. And make sure you fill yourself with the healthy foods, especially before you go out someplace where you think you're going to be tempted. Get your healthy foods in. And if you are going to a place where you haven't eaten first, scout it out and make sure you're putting the healthy foods in first so that you are not as tempted to go after the unhealthy ones. And another aspect of eating for recovery, what does it look like? You're going to have unlimited vegetables, as many as you want, plenty of lean cuts of natural meats, fish and eggs, some fruits, nuts, and seeds, especially if they're sprouted or soaked, and no refined carbohydrates and sugars. Now, I just want to make a distinction here because we've just come through the holidays and there's lots of treats that people talk about, holiday treats, especially when they're holiday habits like, oh, it's our custom this time of the year. So a treat is different from a snack. A snack is something that's healthy. A treat is something you have every once in a while, and it better be worth it. So make a distinction here between treats and snacks. Snacks can be had often because they're healthy, whereas treats are going to be unhealthy, therefore occasional. So do you even know how much of everything you are eating? Do you even know? Sometimes we think we know, but actually, how many servings of fruits and vegetables are you actually getting in, or that kind of thing? So having a diet journal can be a great exercise this time of the year because it allows you to really take inventory. And a lot of people are surprised when they track it closely, what's slipping in and what's not actually getting in. So this can be a useful piece for people to get insights. Now, again, we have all levels of people that are here on our call or that are watching the recording. And so I want to just kind of give you some ideas depending on what level you're at. So if you're a freshman here, you just want to add more healthy foods, healthy plants, healthy fats, and healthy proteins. Just add more of the healthy ones. If you're at sophomore level, you're going to actually start to look at the three anti-inflammatory exchanges. So you want to take the unhealthy sugars and exchange them for the healthy sweeteners. You want to take the unhealthy grains, the flour and the corn, the wheat and the corn, and you want to exchange them for the ancient grains. And then you want to take the unhealthy oils, the seed oils, the canola and the soy and the corn oils and vegetable oils, and you want to exchange them for the healthy oils. That's going to be tallow or lard from healthy pigs, yes, indeed, or butter or avocado oil. Those are some of the healthy oils that you can be eating. Coconut oil would be another one, coconut palm oil. Now, the third level, you're already doing that. Start to look at not just what you're eating, but your rhythm of eating, how much you're eating. So you might want to try seeing what it's like to eat more at one meal, but less often, less frequent meals. Like, for example, these days, people might be eating a lot throughout the day. What if you just start to pare it back to having 3 square meals a day and no snacks in between? And then if you're already doing that at that more grad student level, you can, if you want to become fat adapted, you can start to explore intermittent fasting, which is compressing the hours in the day that you're starting to eat and finishing eating so that you're fasting intermittently around the clock in compressing it down. The ideal is 8 hours, but you can even get it down to 4 hours. And some people get it down to just one meal a day. And it's not necessarily for everybody all the time, but it can be great to have more sustained energy when you're fat adapted. And it makes you less liable to go for cravings because you are not on that roller coaster of the carb addiction that people can get on. Now, if we look at supplementation, remember the word supplementation is to supplement, not to replace. So supplements should never replace a healthy diet or replace an unhealthy diet. You can't get your way out of an unhealthy diet by supplementing. You want to have the healthy diet and then add the supplements to help you to course correct and to be very specific and dialed in with your nutrition. So some of the supplements that can be very useful this time of the year when you have to recover from some stresses that have occurred would be probiotics, one of those that helps you to build a healthy gut, and probiotic foods as well, such as sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, apple cider vinegar, yogurt, kefir, the miso, tempeh. Those are some of the probiotic foods that you can eat. But if you're not into that or you're not up to speed with having that regularly, then actually taking a probiotic supplement can be very useful as the bridge. Vitamin D mixed with vitamin K, they should always be taken together. And that is so important this time of the year. And it's one of the most important hormones in our body is that vitamin D, and it needs to be catalyzed with that vitamin K. Vitamin B complex, well, it's essential if we're stressed. We use up so many B vitamins when we are stressed. So it's even something that it specifically relates to the heartbeat and a healthy heart. So B complex is really important. Fish oil, yep, it's anti-inflammation and it's brain health. And every cell membrane needs those fats, those healthy fats that come from fish oil. Every hormone that we make in our body needs that. Our nervous system needs those healthy fats. And I think of fish oil as the anti-serum to the modern world of the low-level inflammatory burden. So we're just exposed to foods that set us up for being low-level inflammation all the time. And this is one of the ways to remedy that. And then if we look at things like boswellia and turmeric. Now, boswellia and turmeric are both anti-inflammatory herbs. And the turmeric, if you just eat it in your diet just as a spice, only 6% of it is actually absorbable. But if you have certain supplement blends, there's one that's infused in fenugreek, and it makes it 26 times more absorbable. Boswellia is a combination. The ones that we carry it's frankincense is what it is, and it's also basil, holy basil that's mixed with. And then another product is Ion Biome. It used to be known as Restore, and it is a way to address any leaky gut that you might have so that you have a stronger barrier so that the more nutrients can get in and fewer toxins can get in. So if you have gut issues, then that could be something that you'll need to look at. Now, SP Green Food is a fantastic supplement that if you're not eating enough vegetables, it's an easy way to get that in until your body is ready, until your habits and your mind is ready for it. SP Cleanse is the safest detox for the liver, the lymph, and the kidneys. And many people think about detox this time of the year. But I do want to say that you want to make sure your gut is healthy before you do a detox. Otherwise, that can kind of backfire. And then gastrofiber is a good detox for the bowels. And two products, GI Stability and GI Adsorb, are also good for addressing toxicities in the body and getting a better balance in the microbiome and in the gut. Now, a couple other things I'll just add in here. Again, the anti-serum for the modern world of low-level inflammatory burden is going to be the fish oil, and we have a formula, Wellspring Omega, that I love. But then we have, if you've been eating wheat that has glyphosate sprayed on it, that's called Roundup. And nowadays, glyphosate and Roundup are sprayed on crops, and the wind takes them so that only 10% actually lands on the crops. So we are finding this glyphosate Roundup all over, and it's even in what we would think of as healthy foods because it's spread on the wind and in the water. And it's something that is not easy to wash off. It doesn't really wash off. So the Ion Gut Restore is one of the ways that you can repair the damage from glyphosate and also protect yourself from it. All right. And so if you feel like you've gotten your gut healthier, then you may be interested in doing a detox. So again, we've got the freshman level. Just add SP Cleanse and Gastrofiber. Just add them in as a regular protocol, and you're going to do a gentle level of detox on a regular basis. If you're a little bit more advanced, you can then consider the 10-day detox program, and we have that right here in the office where you use these products to make smoothies with, and you have those in a regular program for 10 days. And then there's also a 21-day purification program that I love. Again, it's using a combination of the powder that you put in to make the smoothies, makes it easy, and then also some particular supplements that are going to help you over a 21-day period of time to prepare the body for that detox and then actually do the detoxing. Now, for some people, it may be time to actually look at a heavy metal detox program. That's going to be a bit more sophisticated, and I do prefer to test people for that to make sure that we're getting the right fit for them where they're at right now in their lives as far as the degree of heavy metal toxicity and the best protocol for that person. And then if you're at that grad PhD level, again, you can start to look at that intermittent fasting. And then you can also consider doing block water fasts for the magic number is 3.5 days. The hardest day is day 2. But once you get past day 2, then it gets easier. If you're curious about doing more, learning more about fasting, Dr. Jason Fung, I believe it's either Feng or Fung. He's got a great book on the Complete Guide to Fasting, and that's a great resource. So if you're thinking of that, it'd be a great tool for you. And again, if you are curious about doing any of these programs, please feel free to reach out to us, wellspringcls.com. So some of the nutrients that we use would be the SP Cleanse and the Gastrofiber. The SP Detox Balance is, this is the 10-day program. And then there is the 21-day, which is the purification program. And we also do have a free neurotoxic questionnaire that if you want to take the questionnaire, it can help you to understand where the burdens, what kind of toxic burdens you do have, where are they coming from. And so if you just send us a text, NTQ, neurotoxic questionnaire, NTQ, to our number, 802-985-9850, and then my team will send to you the neurotoxic questionnaire that you can complete and then send it back to us and we can help you interpret it. The third source of stress is traumas. So yes, there are car accidents, sports injuries, slips and falls, and these things are the obvious physical stresses that you may have, like these macro traumas. It's sledding season, let's go. These are the obvious physical stresses, but they often will cause pain and overt signs of damage, but they can also be serious because they can cause something that may not be so obvious. So even when you feel like you've recovered from the aches and the pains, the jarring that occurs may cause something called subluxations because it is now interfering with the suit of armor, your vertebrae, that are protecting your delicate nerves, and they send messages to every part of the body. So again, the brain is sending the messages down the spinal cord, out through the nerves, and back again. If that's happening without interference, you get to be healthy. And so we have to have this idea of garbage in, garbage out. If there's any disturbed information flowing between the brain and the body, then we may have breakdown of function in the body. Similar to static on the line, if you're trying to communicate with somebody and there's static on the line, your loss of communication may lead to a breakdown in the relationship or in the business and so on. So communication breakdown is the key piece here. If you want a healthy nervous system, you need a healthy spine. If you want to have a healthy body, you need a healthy nervous system. And so again, a review of subluxations. So what is it that all these stresses can cause? They cause subluxations. And with subluxations, it starts where there is a joint misalignment, and that leads to soft tissue damage. That leads to inflammation and then spasming because the nerve is irritated. When the nerve is irritated, your smart body will spasm this area to try and strap it down to try and prevent further irritation. And that irritation then leads to a lost inhibition because of the spasms. So when the spasms occur, there's no more movement in this joint and it clamps down on the disc, and the disc can no longer get fluids in and out, which means it can't get nutrients in and it can't get toxins out. And so over time, this joint fixation and loss of imbibition, the movement of fluid in and out, kind of like a sponge. When you squeeze it, the water goes out. When you release it, the water sucks in. That's what imbibition is. So if we have this fixation, now we're going to start to have elevated stress in the body as well. And so you start with a normal disc. You can get a degenerative disc, a bulging disc that's bulging here. It can be a herniated disc that's actually coming out, and then it can be a thinning disc and a drying up, a desiccation of that disc, where you can literally get bone spurs, osteophyte formation, and that's your body trying to stabilize an area that has just been so unstable for so long that it had to try for a plan B, which is that degenerative change. And so when we have the stress response, as you know, fight or flight, all those things happen. And it's great if it's there to save your life. But if it's ongoing, it sets up individuals for diabetes, heart attack, heart disease, and so on. And so subluxations are causing nerve irritation, which is the interference in your body's innate ability to heal and remain healthy. And so that's what we do here is we address that. Now, does this look familiar, right? Just a few days ago here in Vermont, and in fact, across a lot of the country, even in places where they usually don't have it, sure enough, there was blizzards. And so just recognize that you don't have to have an injury in order to get subluxated. Just going out and doing the shoveling without injuring yourself could actually be stressful to your system, and that could be causing a subluxation. Or maybe you're hunkered down inside and oh, no work today, which really means work remotely today. And so now you've got that laptop and it's not a good ergonomic setup. And that can also cause subluxations. So this looks familiar too, I bet. And something like this, right? Okay. It's look at the posture of every single person there, all looking down at their phones. So it's bad enough to just feel the disconnection that's happening here, but to know that that disconnection, that altered connection can be happening in the nervous system because of the postural piece of stress that's happening here. And how many of you feel like you're just spending way too much time sitting in front of a screen or on your phones? How about for your family members? How about for your kids or your grandkids, right? Way too much time. And it's probably unhealthy in many ways, and including the subluxations, the microtrauma. So they literally, microtrauma is the key word here because it's the part that goes unnoticed and it's the part that can actually be brutal on us long term. So things like sitting is the new smoking. And I'll tell you what, screens are the new crack cocaine as far as addiction goes. So making matters worse, we're sitting too much and then we're sitting in front of a screen. And so the reconciliation for sedentary lifestyle is a 4-minute workout. And I have the link if you want the link to it. If you don't have it, just send us a text. We'll get to the link. But it's a 4-minute workout. It's something that can be done anywhere, anytime, no excuses. So if you're feeling like, oh, my New Year's resolution was to get more exercise and oh, the weather's so cold and crappy, I'm not going to do it yet. Well, the 4-minute workout you can do. So it's a way for you to keep your goals on track and not letting the weather or busyness or anything else get in the way. Now, there is this mechanical stress that's part of this poor posture. And I want you to understand this because I want you to understand what this is doing to you. Just looking at your posture or your children's posture, like take a look and remember that your posture is the window to the spine and nervous system. And it's what biophysics experts are telling us can cause stress on your spine. So if you think of a bowling ball, think of your head as a 12-pound bowling ball. If that 12-pound bowling ball is right up over your spine, then you are able to manage that 12 pounds as 12 pounds. But when you have the head start to go forward, even just 15 degrees, you now, instead of having a 12-pound head, you have the equivalent of a 27-pound head. If you're 30 degrees forward, it's a 40-pound head. And if you're 45 degrees forward, it's a 49-pound head that you are putting the stress on your neck right here, actual mechanical stress. And that stress then can cause the subluxation. So here is that circuit breaker. And just like we know what the rooms of the house are that those wires go to where the circuit is blown, we know what organ systems and body parts these nerves are going to, of where the subluxations are, where the short circuits and the blown fuses are. And this is the map of the nervous system. On the left, you can see at the top, we have the spinal cord, the brain and the spinal cord coming out from the brain, and it goes right down the spine, right down the back, protected by the spinal column. And then there are branches that come off of the spinal cord that go out to every part of the body. I want you to notice, for example, the nerves that come out of the upper back are the nerves that go to the heart and the lungs. So when I think of that fellow on the airplane, you know, he was deconditioned. He probably had poor posture as well. And that could have impacted that nerve supply. Now here, this is the area for digestion, upper digestion. So nerve supply to the stomach, to the aorta, to the liver, the pancreas. These are the digestive organs. And then a little bit lower down, we're kind of getting into the adrenal glands and the small intestine. And then a little lower, we're getting into the large intestine, the reproductive organs, and the bladder. And so all of that is being controlled from the spine. Now, also at the very top of the spine, we see the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve comes out. Vagus means wanderer. and it comes out at the top of the spine and it goes down and it goes to all these same organs, the heart, the lungs, the stomach, the liver, the pancreas, the adrenals, the small and the large intestine. So all the way from the top of the neck is controlled all the way down to the large intestine. And from the very bottom, we've got the rest of them covered. So this really is a circuit breaker. And so if you are having any disturbance in any of these organ systems, well, in your house, if the lights were not working in a certain room and none of the appliances were either, would you spend a second trying to change a light bulb in that room? Or would you go right down to the power source, to the circuit breaker, and see which circuit is blown? So chiropractors think of the spine as circuit breakers. And so we are actually the experts, the ones on the team that are always watching the flow of information in your body to and from every cell in your body. And so that's why I want you to think about, who here could actually use having their spine checked if they are concerned about any of those stresses that we find coming after the holidays and those health concerns. And so I want to tell you about, I have an excellent patient, and she was not able to go on a holiday bus trip that she'd like to go on every year. And so she came in, and through care, she was able to not only get off of her medications, but the following year, not only was she able to take the bus trip, it was a shopping trip to go on, she was able to do that, but she actually was able to go snowshoeing, which she never even had on her radar as a goal that she could have done. She thought she was just getting older. This is just how it was going to be. And yet her life was changed dramatically by just turning the power back on, getting those circuits reset, and correcting those subluxations. And so again, I want you to just consider this, that your spine is the electrical panel that contains the circuit breakers to your body. Now, how would you know if you had a subluxation? How would you know? So we use many tools to evaluate that. The objective findings include motion palpation, feeling the motion in each joint, and static palpation, actually feeling if there's a misalignment of that joint, checking posture, looking at x-rays, and doing something called instrumentation. So instrumentation is the technology that we use that measures the nerve supply to the muscles and the nerve supply to the organs. It measures how well you're managing the current stresses that you're under as well. And so the nervous system is the window to your health. It tells us so much about your health. So how would you know if holiday stress had left unhealthy neurologic patterns in your nervous system? The scars on the nervous system are the subluxations, and they're indications of dis-ease, and dis-ease is the precursor to disease states. And so subluxations are what initiate that downward spiral of disease. So when we are measuring somebody's health, we need to be measuring their nervous system. And the only way you would know if you had stress in your nervous system from holiday stresses and unhealthy neurologic patterns is to get checked. And so that's what we do here right in the office. So you need to get adjusted for recovery as well. We've talked about thinking for recovery, sleeping for recovery, eating for recovery, and moving for recovery. Movement is key, so the 4-minute workout is your solution there just to get started. But what about adjustments for recovery? How do you correct subluxations? And it is through specific chiropractic adjustments. Chiropractors are the only professionals that are trained to adjust subluxations and correct them. And in our office, we use a gentle, light touch model that's a brain-based model. And that allows your brain to then correct those subluxations. And that leads to us realigning and therefore returning to normal motion and normal function in the spine, and to reduce the stress and interference in the nervous system, and to normalize nervous system input and communication. And it's the largest drug-free approach to health in the world. Millions of people are getting adjusted and have been doing so for over 125 years. And so we love checking people and taking care of them. and we hope that you will share this with others. But really, I want to make sure that you know that when we are checking people, we not only check them initially, but we check them repeatedly because we want to be monitoring that what we're doing is working and that the nervous system is getting clearer over time. And just remember that you don't want to put this off. If you haven't had your spine checked, you want to make sure you do get it checked. If you know people that have not had their spine checked, they need to get to a chiropractor to check them because it could be something that's interfering with their health. And just like that guy on the airplane that thought he had more time, procrastination is the thief of health. And so don't procrastinate in getting your spine checked. If you already are getting your spine checked, then look at those different categories of thinking for recovery, sleeping for recovery, eating for recovery, moving for recovery, and see what are your action steps. What did you write down that is your biggest nugget that you got from tonight? And what can you do to actually put that into action? Just start out small, start out with the smallest way of doing that thing. And then you'll find that, well, that was easy. I can do that. I'm ready for the next part. And just take it one step at a time. And if you ever get challenged, just reach out to us because we've heard it before and we love to help. So thank you so much for your time and attention. We're going to sign off for now, and I hope to see you next month with our next webinar, and we will cover all the details with that one as well.